Is IT ready over there? Perfect. Okay, it's close enough. I'm gonna call today's work session, Tuesday, August 25th, 2026 at 10 a.m. to order. We're gonna say a pledge of allegiance. Supervisor Christensen, you wanna lead us in?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our regular agenda, we're on a session today, information discussion regarding the University of Arizona County Cooperative Extension Program. The impact of Gila County support and financial 2027 funding consideration, including a request to increase the annual appropriation from 70,000 to 90,000. Good morning. We have Ashley Dixon Claymore, and we have Tony up
And Tony's
as
join
well.
me.
So, okay. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. This is very nerve-wracking. So we have, as you all know, and I've presented to you over the last couple years, had a decrease in our overall operations budget from the state and the university. Over the last 2 years, that has added up to about $400,000 in a decrease in Gila County operating funds. So what we are coming to you, as you all have generously provided the 70,000 appropriation over as long as I think I've been here, so 9 years, and I'm sure longer than that, as well as our space, and that, as I've presented to you in the last couple of years, you've shown an interest in potentially increasing that. And so I'm coming to ask humbly for the potential of increasing up to 90 or whatever you all feel is sustainable. And you know your budgets better than me. But and then we have a few kind of things that we would like to do with that, if you would like to hear some of those too.
I believe we'd like to hear of what programs you have that you would use that for.
Sure. So some of the programs that we would like to kind of expand and sustain and expand our financial literacy and offering that on a wider scale. We have been doing it more in the southern region, but if we were able financially, then we would like to offer it more in Payson, in potentially Young, San Carlos, continue some of the options there, and then also continue with some of our nutrition and healthy lifestyle programming that we've been doing. We've been doing some very minimal diabetes prevention in San Carlos, but we would like to expand that. The need and the want is there for that. And then Tony, I brought her up today to talk about some of the awesome things that also 4-H would like to do countywide with a generous increase.
So thank you for the opportunity to talk today. A couple of the things that we have talked about is getting more programming into the outlying areas where the special enrichment opportunities may not have otherwise existed. So I took that feedback that you had previously mentioned, and I'm happy to tell you that we have expanded partnership with Hayden. We are doing some spin-off programming at the library there. We've had, I think it's been a great success. We've had quite a few kids show up to that. So these continued opportunities to expand would allow us to give some of those special interest programming to the kids who may not otherwise get to participate in a traditional 4-H program. So short-term intermittent projects. And we have some new exciting partnerships. The Hayden Library, Young 4-H is just blossoming huge. I just got off the phone with them this morning on 2 different program expansions that they are hoping to bring out next for each year. We have a pilot program running with Rim Country Middle School. Gila Community College is also on board with introducing some workshop series that will help facilitate learning with our younger population and then hopefully get them into the college later on as well. And then, of course, our continued partnerships. We've got a lot of strong partnerships in our community. Ideally, what we want to be able to do is offer those enrichment programs to our kids that's going to inspire the next generation of miners, ranchers, and our community professionals. So I think that the additional funding will allow us to hit those kids that may not otherwise have an opportunity to participate. So our homeschool groups, our outlying areas, and just getting a little bit more resources going in those areas.
Other
Okay.
questions?
Perhaps Supervisor Klein.
Ladies, thank you for coming in front of us and presenting for this. I remember the 70,000 for quite a few years. And so to be able to give you guys some more money and expand, especially to the outlying areas, it's not that we don't need expansion in the bigger areas too, north and south, because that would still help. But the outlying areas, and you mentioned Hayden and Winkleman down there, that's kind of a little corner we have down there that's forgotten.
Right.
And so to be able to reach out in some of those areas like that is a huge plus for those kids, because some of those kids don't have the ability to travel,
Right.
even to Globe, to participate in a 4-H program. So if there's any way of doing that, that'd be good. And I like the idea of giving as much as we can to these kids and to the 4-H community. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Supervisor Christians.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, ladies, for coming. I had the opportunity to be a judge at a bake-off this last Friday.
Yeah. Awesome.
I had, quite honestly, the best cookie I have ever eaten in my life, and I've asked Tony to try and get the recipe. I'm only able to have one cookie, and I'm hopelessly addicted, and I can't find another supply. So it's amazing. So I've also heard at that same meeting, talking with Terry and Tony about the shooting sports are building up. They're getting larger, bigger, more participation. You want to expand into archery. You want to keep growing and doing that. So I appreciate all of that, preparing our children for their future.
Yeah, and I support the 4-H, anything to do with our kids and get them involved in doing things to feel better about themselves and to work towards understanding the finances and things of that nature and what it, you know, anytime you take on a challenge, it helps you take on more challenges. And so I support it an awful lot, and we don't always have an open checkbook, you know, but I'm sure that we'll do what we can. Okay. And, you know, I'm not sure where constituent funds would come in to some of that, depending. But anyway, I fully support what you're doing and what you want to do.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that the matter be referred to the Finance Director and the County Attorney's Office to look into the matter and determine a way to move this matter forward, and then report back to the board, perhaps in executive session,
Sure.
What we've determined.
Sure. I agree.
Okay. So what is the next step? Then I come back to an executive board?
I think the next step is there will be someone in touch with you with a future meeting when it will be an agenda item.
Okay.
And there may be some questions needed by staff
Sure.
or things of that nature prior to that. And if there's a deadline on that, you might reach out to county management and Josh and let them know that, you know, we appreciate the opportunity to discuss it, but we needed it last Thursday.
Okay.
You know, probably not, but just, anyway, yeah. Just stay in touch with staff and they will keep you informed, and then hopefully we will get an agenda meeting where we can vote on what and how we can do for you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
and
much.
Reach out anytime.
You
Yep.
bet.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank
Have a great day.
Thank
You
you
too.
for all you do.
Okay, moving on to 2B, information discussion. to consider expanding the JAVS audio visual system into the Globe courtrooms and Board of Supervisors hearing room. Gary Bartling, how are you guys today?
Good morning,
Jonathan.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity. We really appreciate the venue of a work session. In the past, we've appeared at work sessions before on behalf of our justice courts and on behalf of Superior Court, and the fruits of some of those meetings actually contribute to the financial package in this proposal that you'll hear shortly. So we're grateful for the venue. And before I turn it over to Ms. Bartling, I do want to recognize that the proposal, which you'll hear the details on, does not only benefit the board, the courts, and the citizens, but we have other stakeholders in our orbit, and I wanted to recognize some of those folks who have come out to support us today. We've got Judge Garvin, the Payson Justice of the Peace, who came down from Payson. He's heard a lot about this proposal, obviously, before we brought it to you. Judge Reardon, our Globe Justice of the Peace, came down from his courtroom. We've got Lieutenant Osborne from the Gila County Jail. The jail was obviously impacted by this proposal. I did also forward along a letter from the jail commander, Major Fulton, on behalf of the Sheriff's Office. And we had Mr. Beauchamp as well. It looks like he stepped out, but it's not just a courts IT type of project, but the reach goes pretty far. So I wanted to recognize some of our partners who have worked with us to get to the point where we can bring some information to you for your consideration.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. Carrie?
Thank you. So what we're doing is we're bringing this to you today because one of the things that countywide, courts, sheriff's office, the Board of Supervisors room, all of them have different audio systems in there. And, we're looking at 4 to 5 different systems that our team supports on the IT side, and it goes toward the users too. Each of the users have to come in and be able to, if somebody comes from Payson to here, it's a totally complete different system than what they're using in Payson. So this is why we're kind of looking to standardize and extend what we have in Payson, because the JAV system that we have in Payson, it works phenomenal. We have a really good rapport with that system, and we would like to extend that system countywide is what we'd like to do. At a glance, we're looking at the total cost being around $665,000. So contributed from the courts is going to be around $460,000. Remaining balance for the county is $205,000. Annual support maintenance will be a $61,000 a year. So brief history of the court automation, 2009 to 2010, digital audio recordings introduced into the capture of the court hearings, conference lines used for telephonic appearance and testimony. One thing, especially with Lieutenant Osborne being here, they use it a lot for, communicating with the inmates and everything like that. It makes it a lot easier for them to be able, for the judges and the attorneys and stuff to communicate with them and everything. So in 2010s, the virtual appearances adopted for certain hearing types. 2020 to 2021 is when COVID-19 hit. So COVID-19 is when a lot of the virtualization of appearances and everything came into play. So post-COVID, courtrooms fill with assorted audio-visual technology components acquired in different streamlines. YouTube, a lot of the courtrooms use YouTube. They stream, as we do here. You stream your recordings and hearings and stuff to YouTube. 2022, this Arizona Supreme Court requires local courts to adopt standards for virtual hearings. So that where it went into place where it had to have the laws there. So 2025, digital evidence is rolled out to a county level. So all the evidence and everything is now digital. So they're able to, all the digital evidence and everything is loaded up into the system, and then the attorneys and judges are able to pull it up. How can we address the pressures in an inefficient and cost-effective manner? 4 main business pressures: the digital auto recording, virtual appearances, digital evidence display, and streaming capabilities. This is where that JAV systems comes into play. It actually works everything all in there for you. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to touch on this piece of it. So digital, I started with the courts in 2008. So that's 17, 18 years ago. We are still running the same audio recording system that we had back then. So in addition to the audio recording, which is very important, now we have these other pressures that we have to deal with in our previous audio recording system, which is still in operation, does not account for any of this stuff. And so I'm kind of an old-fashioned guy, but the courts have sped up over the past 18 years. These are things that we didn't have an opportunity to really plan for. COVID accelerated our timeframes. We had no time to plan or test, to really size up these things. We were slapping webcams in courtrooms and streaming and doing everything as best we could just to operate. So this also represents an opportunity to reset and something that will be with us for the next 5-7 years.
Okay, thank you.
Expansion of the JAVS platform. As we said, JAVS is currently in the TCM building in Payson, and it works really well. We're able to pull recordings when we need to. All the audio and videos record into the system. Our IT techs are able to pull them for them if they need to. The port administration is also able to pull them if they need to, and they work really well on that one. So. Where the platform goes. So it would go here in the Board of Supervisors room. It would go into the Superior Courts for both A and B courtroom here. It would go into Justice Court here, and it would go into the Justice Court in Payson and the Superior Courtroom in Payson also.
That's correct. And I just want to add on, this is actually an opportunity for us to get in front of some of these business pressures. Our justice courts have the same mandates for recording, but they will be receiving, and they have the same mandates for virtual appearances. They will be going to digital evidence at some point in the very near future. This would allow us to be in front of that.
Question? Keep going.
We can wait till the end
Okay.
if you'd
All
like.
right. Who benefits? The board and the courts. Consistent standards, compliant technology in every meeting room and courtroom. The sheriff's office. Fewer inmate transports required for court appearances. County attorney's office. Easier victim and witness appearances without in-person travel. The public. A streaming alternative to driving across a very large county. One-time installation cost is $665,000. Total installation cost for all locations. Contribution from the courts is $460,000, and then county share is $205,000. Reoccurring costs fully offset. So the support and maintenance agreements is $61,000 a year. The offset is, but that's for. I'll let you.
Yeah, we are eliminating a position in court administration, salary and employee-related expenses that will allow us to offset the annual recurring support and maintenance contracts.
One standard, shared cost, countywide benefit, a mandate, already enforced state standards and virtual hearings and county level digital evidence are here now. The equipment has to meet them. A platform already working. JAVS is in service in Payson and is the county IT standard. So this is an expansion rather than experiment. A cost already shared. The courts carry $460,000 of the installation, and the $61,000 annual obligation is fully offset. Any questions or anything that we can answer for you? And as far as an IT director myself, I am fully for this because for my team alone, having to be able to know, 4 to 5 different operations, depending on where they go, is dependent on how they support that. So for them to be able to just, if I send somebody from here to Payson, to be able to just walk in and be able to support it with no issues, without having to pull up, some kind of information on how to actually support it, So it would make it a lot easier on our team, so.
Okay. Supervisor Klein, questions?
So Carrie, Jonathan, thank you. I can only imagine going to one system throughout the county would be a huge benefit. I didn't realize we're working under that many different systems, I guess. And the other, it looks like a plus to me, is you guys have already had the chance to test this one. You've already been working with it, so you like it, you know it works, and everything like that. So my question would be like the 665, that's a solid number? I mean, that's it? Because if you think about going into the courthouse here, no telling what's under these chairs up here, or in your courtrooms or whatever that they're gonna deal with. So that's good, so the 665?
So we had her come down from Tennessee. She came down here and actually walked through all of the courtrooms and the Board of Supervisors rooms here in Globe, and then we met her up in Payson, and she walked everything there also. So she did a complete walkthrough and notated everything, and yes.
Yeah, we do, obviously, a project of this scope, you worry about those kind of run-on costs. And we did everything we could to mitigate that front end. And like Carrie said, we had the representative from JABS and members of her team
Correct.
come through, and we've spoken to them after quotes were received as well. We didn't want to bring a package to you without as many of the rough edges off of it as we possibly
Sure.
could account for. And that's, that goes for the recurring costs too. We had to have a plan to account for that in addition to installation, but they're firm quotes. And if there is any overrun, I think that we would be able to mitigate that.
So you mentioned in there, inmate transports. So if all the county systems are tied together with one functioning Java system like that, then what you're saying is you can do a lot more video type stuff up there and you don't have to transport?
That is correct. We do a lot of that now.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys remember in the old days and with the Payson Justice Court, they used to walk a chain of inmates across the street every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one example. And there's other hearings that in custody parties can attend hearings, but yeah, it's a big part of it.
And you guys are thinking, doing it this year is what you're wanting to do? I mean, that's your target or what?
Ideally, yes. We have been, as you mentioned, when COVID came, we were slapping devices and cameras in everywhere, and we have kept that on life support.
Yeah.
It's very hard for Carrie's team to support. It's hard for our court staff to use.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a clerk and they have to go up to Payson, then it's an entirely different setup. So we have been trying to get a fix on this for a long time.
That sounds like a good target, so thank you guys. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
bringing this up. It's
Thank
good.
you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I think it's absolutely necessary. I like the term you use, get out in front of it, clean things up, patchwork, make it right. And it's not like you just wanted a nice shiny new object. You want to improve the system, and it affects a lot of different departments and people. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple questions while you were going, so I didn't interrupt you, because a lot of times you'll answer my questions before I ask them, so before you get to the end of it. But on the service that we're eliminating, is that gonna save us some money?
It will. We do currently have support maintenance agreements with the current vendor. I think we totaled those all up. I think it was around $30K or so.
Yeah.
It
No,
would be
any,
saved
yeah,
from
that,
general fund
any
expense.
savings, good saving. And then also too, I also like the fact that you'll be able to go virtual. Not transporting people, then we're saving on liability issues. We're saving on man-hour costs, transportation costs, just kind of the savings that you don't see that will definitely make a difference over time as people get used to doing more virtual and less hands-on. So I thank you very much for your presentation
Thank you.
today. Any further questions?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay,
right,
thank you very much. Have a good day. Okay, then we're coming up to 2C, information discussion regarding the utilization of $5 million in direct disaster relief funding provided by the state of Arizona for flood recovery efforts in Gila County Michael O'Driscoll.
Chairman,
And
members of the
Mayor
board.
Billings.
Thank you very much. So if you recall, back in June of this past year, the state legislators and Governor Hobbs signed this disaster relief for Gila County. This $5 million was part of a $10 million package. $2.5 million went to the city of Globe and $2.5 million went to the town of Miami. And Gila County received $5 million direct funding from the state to address some of the flood relief that we saw last September floods, some of the debris management. And so the purpose of our discussion right now is just to give you staff's ideas on how to utilize this $5 million to make sense, to provide some of the cost relief from the debris management we saw and some other costs with our NRCS projects. And I brought Maren here because she's certainly has some really good ideas as far how to use this $5 million to make it be more closer to $6.2 million instead of $5 million. And I'm going to have Maren sort of explain that idea.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein. When the $5 million came through from the state of Arizona, it didn't have a specific limitation on what we could use it for. So this morning, we are providing you with 3 sort of options or directions forward. And we've got these enumerated within the agenda item. We thought that that was a more clear way than making this a presentation. The first one is to reduce your borrowing total. So if you use the $5 million toward Gila County's 25% match on the NRCS and DEMA projects, and ultimately reduced your total borrowing from $18.2 million to $13.2 million, that would save approximately $1.2 million in interest over the life of the bond. So that's how the $5 million would become $6.2 million. Alternatively, because NRCS and DEMA projects have specific lifetimes on them, the NRCS projects have 220 days and DEMA has a 1-year timeline, you could instruct us and staff to come up with a list of additional projects that we could use the $5 million for. And then we left the third item open because in addition to reducing borrowing or evaluating additional projects, there may be things that you have thought of that this would be the ideal time to bring up. So we wanted to open the door for this conversation and make sure that before we came up with a solution, that we got your feedback, input, and ideas so that we can use this $5 million in the way that is the best stewardship and the best leadership for Gila County's path forward. Did I miss anything, Michael?
No, Maren, you hit all the
Okay.
points. So we'd be open to discussion and feedback, and
Okay.
we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Supervisor Klein.
So thank you, you guys. Hands down to me, it's to use it against that $18 million. You know, we reduce $1.2 million in interest. That's a big savings. Nothing's ever said we have to borrow the 18 million either, the total amount, but to put it towards that end, from my opinion, is definitely the way to go on this. No doubt there's probably other things, projects out there, whatever, but the most glaring is to get out from under that debt to me.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that, so let me ask you, though, we haven't borrowed $18 million. How much have we borrowed?
We have not requested any reimbursement from the bond yet.
So
We wanted to have this conversation first.
So we actually have borrowed the 18 million, but we haven't spent any of it just yet.
Okay, but we're anticipating on spending approximately 12 of that or 10 of that?
That's a hard figure to come up with since we don't have a lot of the
Commitments, so I mean, the commitments going forward with the 220 and all the other different projects, they're not gonna be 18.
correct, sir.
That's the number I'm after.
Yeah.
So that number would be what?
At first, it was about 12 million, but that's been reduced with some of the cost savings that Public Works on the NRCS projects. They're seeing, I'm just gonna throw out a number here and don't quote me, it would probably be closer to 8 or 9 million, possibly, if we used the 5 million towards that as well.
Some of that's gonna be reimbursed though from Gila and the others, right?
No, that's net of reimbursement.
Yeah, that's above and beyond the reimbursement.
Above and beyond.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, do we anticipate having to borrow, let's say this 5 million doesn't exist, would we anticipate having to borrow more money to pay for future projects that are coming up, or are we done with that?
If we didn't have this 5 million, we'd certainly be using more of that 18 million and add on to that the interest cost for that. So
So I guess my question is to lead to the fact that we could use the 5 million for future spending without having to borrow money. Okay, and then we could take the 5 million and also pay down the debt.
correct, sir.
So to pay down the debt and then borrow more money seems, you know, a little bit of monkey motion there. If we have more debt that's coming, we can just use the 5 for that. But I am all for getting rid of this debt.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be my recommendation.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Well, I'm kind of looking forward because further in the presentation today, we bring up the Russell Road. That's a project that we're doing engineering on, and then we're going to hopefully at some point reach for grant to fix that, but we will probably have some match money with the grant. So looking at future projects and perhaps needing money for those projects, like I say, the 18 million we had to borrow, we had to get things done. We didn't borrow more than we could afford. And so I also would like to pay some of that debt down, but until we get some of our projects done, we're not really sure where we're gonna set with that, but we know that we're gonna be way under what we had thought we would be. And so I think I would like to take a closer look at some of our big future projects and perhaps estimated costs and matches on those, because as the world changes, we got good interest in things, and we can pay back this 18 million at any time. In the future with the world today, there may not be low interest money or as low interest money. And when you're talking millions of dollars, 2% interest is a lot of money. And so anyway, yes, I would like to pay some of that 18 million, be able to pay all the 18 million. No, we're not going to be able to do that, but I would like to take a close look at future projects that we know we need and that we're putting grants in for, and what's our match money going to be on those, because we've already negotiated a pretty good deal, I think, on this 18 million, that if we went back to them in a year from now, is that money going to cost us more than it did when we reached out and was able to work this? So that's my 2 cents worth.
Great, Chairman, members of the board, and thank you very much for those thoughts. I think we're going to get a lot more clarity with the finances for the flood relief once the NRCS projects close out and we put together a financial package to bring to the board in a work session in about 6 to 8 weeks. So I think we'll have a lot more clarity, and when we bring all these projects, including the Russell Road project, you know, some of the costs and some of the grants we're going for, I think we'll put together a nice work session to include all of that, if that's acceptable.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask what happened to there's an additional 1.5 million, was there not from the state? It was 5 million, and then we got another 1.5 million. Am I wrong? Am I thinking-
Is that the
That was for
residual
another
from the
deal that
HB
we were
money?
able to use it for flood relief.
I think think, so
Yeah,
my
we s-
apologies, Chairman,
yes.
members of the board, that $1.5 million came from DIFM. So it was not 1.5 million, it was closer to 1.2 million. They had some extra money in the HB 2001 money that we requested that we be allowed to use for the flood relief. There was two parts to our request. We requested about $200,000 to hire a consultant for the debris management, which in this particular case was Gila. So DIFM paid his contract cost, and then the remaining $1.2 million was given to Gila County for flood relief to be used on the Russell Gulch project in particular. So that money will pay for the match and any money left over from that. If there is any money of the $1.2 million, we'll go back to DIFM and see if we could repurpose that. So yes, you're absolutely right, sir, and my apologies for forgetting.
Supervisor Klein, any more questions?
You know, Michael, you brought up the 18 million, but then the actual cost, and that seems to stick in my mind, that $9 million, right around that. That's what seems to stick in my mind. What's real important to me is that we get beyond this $18 million loan, whatever, revolving line of credit, basically, and get ready for the next storm. That's what always worries me. It's like, you know, what we had hit us could hit us next year or 10 years. We just don't know. But to get out from under that, because I think there was an annual payment if we used the whole 18 million of, what was it, Marion, like 2 million a year or something like that?
2 million a year for 10 years, yes.
Yeah, and so that's what's real important to me, and then work with the future projects as we identify them or they come up and see what's out there and what we can afford, so, just saying.
Thank you, sir.
And just to Supervisor Klein's point, Mr. Chairman, if I may, we are in an IGA with the City of Globe, the Town of Miami, and our partners at Freeport to do an assessment of what those long-term needs are. And that is something that is also working alongside of all the work that we're doing currently. And to recover is that long-term planning piece. That's a collaborative effort across the entire region.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, and I hope you gained some information today. Okay, we're gonna move on to 2D. Information discussion regarding the past, present, and future of the Buckhead Mesa landfill and remaining life expectancy of the current sale and operations for future expansion. Troy and Mr. Dickinson.
Chairman, Board of Supervisors, thank you. Before we start the presentation, I wanted to take a moment. A few weeks ago, I officially stepped into the Public Works Director role, and I wanted to recognize Troy White for the partnership he's been through with that. He made himself available every step of the way, always willing to talk something through, always generous with his time. And that kind of support made this the smoothest transition I've been a part of. Troy, thank you from the team and from me. Fittingly, this is Troy's last item with this board. He and the team have built line cells, leachate systems, and pushed through the ADEQ expansion that's kept Buckhead Mesa running for the northern portion of Gila County. Essentially, what he's going to be able to lay out today and have to ask is we have about 3.5 years of space left, and securing the new land can take 3 to 4 years. So we're going to be asking for your direction and support in that. With that, Troy, if you want to be able to lay out the presentation, and after that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Morning, Chairman and Board. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that. It has been one of the smoother transitions I've ever been a part of, too, as well. So it's a good thing. There's a couple of things that I really want to go over with the board today. I want to talk a little bit about the current situation. I'm only going to talk a couple slides on that for the current situation. I really want to spend a little bit more time on sustainability, and I'm not talking about environmental sustainability. I'm talking about the budget sustainability of a landfill, and this would apply to both Buckhead Mesa and Russell Gulch. I think there's some key factors that we need to keep an eye on as we're moving forward with owning these landfills and operating and maintaining them. So I want to spend a little time on that. And then at the very end, we do have a board policy question for this board that we're really looking to get some direction on, specifically as it relates to the Townsite Act. There's nobody really in current management or the executive management that was here when this Townsite Act originally kicked off, and we were looking at getting 512 acres. So we want to go through with that. We want to just make sure we're about ready to start spending some serious money moving forward for that 512 acres. So we just want to make sure that the 512 acres is still the plan, because if we're going to change that, now would be the time to change that. So just real quickly on the current situation, the existing landfill is expected to reach capacity in 2030. I'm going to go over a little bit of that and why that is so. I think in the past, we've heard 2032. When it first started out, it was 2028. So I want to show why those numbers jump around a little bit under the sustainability part of this presentation. Right now, we're going underneath we're currently doing the archaeological environmental assessments are underway, and that's going to take until May of next year, 2027, at which time the mitigation will start. And that's really when you start spending some serious funding to get these projects moving forward. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about that towards the end of the presentation of what it's going to take moving forward for the mitigation. So you got the environmental assessment going on now until May, and then the mitigation is going to start in May of next year. I want to make one recommendation, and this is really important. Because of the timeline that we're under to get the landfill done, it would be my recommendation that in March of next year that a contract for a firm to do the mitigation is brought before the board for approval, even though they can't start until May. There's not a lot of firms out there that do mitigation, and they get booked up way in advance. And we don't have time to not be first in line. So I would have a contract ready to go, even though we're not going to know the total price until the environmental assessment's done. I'd get a contract here. I'd do a best case estimate on that contract, get it approved in March, so that when the environmental assessment's done in May, the mitigation can start in May. If you wait till May to bring that contract forward, you're probably going to be out a couple months before they can start, and I don't really know that, we have that much time. So just keep that in mind as we're moving forward, and that's more of a key thing for Joseph and his team to keep in mind moving forward. So currently, right now, this is the Townsite Act, and again, you're going to hear the Townsite Act, and that just comes, the Townsite Act is just comes from the 1867 law that determines how you have to purchase federal land. That's why it's called Townsite Act. That was the law that put this in place. So we don't really have a name for it other than what the law was called when it was enacted. So this is the Townsite Act here. That's the full 512 acres. You can see the area of current operations of 89 acres is up towards the top right-hand side of that map. That's where the landfill's going on. That's where the road has a material pit in that area. That will be part of the 512 acres that we purchase, because we don't own that yet, but that's going to be part of the purchase moving forward. So I want to get into sustainability, but before I do, is there any questions on anything covered so far?
I have a question, Mr. Chair. Go ahead. Troy, have we had any kickbacks on that EA? Anybody opposing it or anything hanging out there? An EA can be sued by about anybody in the United States.
Yeah, no, it's going really good. I'm going to go over some of the cultural stuff that they're finding out there. But we're not getting any kickback or any concerns with with where we're at in the stage we're at right now.
Yeah, it won't come till the end, but I had this question in my mind a while back, and I wasn't sure if it was going under an EA or an EIS, but
Yeah.
an EA is pretty vulnerable to lawsuits.
It is, yeah. You can get a lot of input on that can delay things a little bit, for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I want to talk a little bit about sustainability. Now, this is really a key equation really to keep in mind. This is really what determines the performance of a landfill. You hear a lot about compaction. Everybody knows about compaction and how important compaction is, but just as important is the tonnage that we receive. And I'm going to go over a perfect example of a real example that happened at Buckhead Mesa and how this all plays a part. But basically, everybody knows you have to have really good compaction because the compaction determines how long that landfill will live. Tonnage coming in determines your revenue. So if you don't have enough tonnage coming in, you might not be making enough revenue to pay your expenses. And by expenses, it's both the short-term expenses, it's the operating expenses, but it's also the long-term expenses that you have to cover. So you have to cover closure and post-closure costs. And you're gonna see those are pretty expensive. We're supposed to put money aside every year for the closure and post-closure costs. The estimated amount for the new Buckhead Mesa expansion, just to give you an example, I think is around $14–15 million that we need to have in place by the time that landfill closes to do the closure and the post-closure activities of that landfill. So when we say the tonnage needs to be right, it needs to more than cover revenue because there's funding that you have to set aside at both Buckhead Mesa and Russell Gulch. So there's a balance that you want to strike. So I'm going to talk a little bit about compaction first. You guys know about compaction, just want to cover it real quick, and then we'll see how that plays in with the tonnage. So here's just a real simple example. If we have a million cubic yard landfill and we're charging $50 for the average ton. If we're compacting at about 1,000 pounds a cubic yard, for the life of that landfill will generate a revenue of about $25 million. If you look at the bottom where it's 1,600, where now you really got great compaction. We target 1,400, but if you got really great compaction and you're at 1,600 cubic yards, now that $25 million landfill is now making $40 million. That's a big difference when it comes to the revenue and what you need for closure and post-closure activities. So compaction is very important in the equation. So this is just kind of a chart that shows finding the right balance. So if you look at the top left-hand one where it says poor compaction, low tonnage, that's bad because you're killing the life of your landfill and you're not making enough to run it. Really easy formula to remember. And if you got poor compaction, you got high tonnage, well, you might be making enough revenue to pay today's expenses. But that landfill is going to run out of airspace before you have the funding to pay for the long-term expenses. So that's not good either. And if you look at the green zones, that's really where you want to be. So you got a target compaction rate, and then you got a target tonnage rate, right? I'm gonna go over that on the next slide. But if you got your target compaction, you hit your target tonnage, that's sustainable. You're making revenue, it's covering cost, you're doing okay. Where you really want to be, though, is you want to have excellent compaction and you want to have either target or high tonnage because you're maximizing the landfill airspace and you've got enough revenue not only to pay for the short-term expenses but for the long-term expenses. So you want to be in one of those three zones for the life of your landfill. Now let's see what that did for Buckhead Mesa. So take the two green boxes. That's the compaction on the left side there and the tonnage on the right side there. So for 2020 to 2022, we had really great compaction, as you can see, but we had really low tonnage. There just wasn't enough tonnage coming in. So that's where you kind of get a little scary where you're not covering, you may be covering your daily or your annual operating, but are you covering enough money to put away for those long-term expenses that you have? So that's not a good combination to have. But what that resulted in is that resulted in us going from 2028 to a lifespan of 2032. That's where you had that 2032 lifespan because you had great compaction and you didn't have a lot of tonnage coming in. So based on that trend, they said, we can make it to 2032. Now, if you look at the next 3 years, and I'm sorry for 2023, we didn't have compaction data, so I'm not including that in this, but if you look at 24, 25, and 26, and these are fiscal years. So 26 would be July of 25 to July of 26. So we just closed out that fiscal year. But if you look at the compaction, horrible compaction, losing a lot of airspace. But if you look over at the tonnage, we were getting some pretty decent tonnage. So we were killing our airspace, but we were making good revenue. Not the combination you want. Really what we want is the compaction from 2020 to 2022 and the tonnage from 2024 to 2026. That's the combination that you need to have for the life of your landfill. Now, one of those we control and one of those we don't. The one we control is compaction. The one we don't control is tonnage. How much tonnage comes to the landfill we do not control.
I got a question. Troy, while we're sitting here on this right now, looking back in the years, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, whatever you want to go back, how bad is the fluctuation in tonnage from one year to another? Did you happen to take a look at that?
I did not, but we can do that analysis for you.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the other thing that I'm looking at, and it's going through my mind, we've had dollar dump day for how long now? So we get a lot of tonnage coming in, which that was our goal, was to help the public, but very little revenue on that.
Right.
What was the impact of that? Do you know?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, on an annual basis, you're losing about $50,000 a year. So when you're talking about $2 million budgets and $2 million revenue, I don't think it's a huge factor. It's once a month. It's 12 times a year for each landfill. Doing the analysis on that, it's really not hugely impactful one way or the other. You know, we hear that it cuts down on wildcat dumping, and then we've also heard that it, you know, people will save up their trash at their home for a full month because they don't want to, you know, pay the fee. So there's vector control issues there. I mean, there's pros and cons. I mean, I think it's a good thing for those that are on a fixed income and struggle on how to get rid of their trash. But is it hurting the pro forma? It's not really impacting.
So that's my question. I know it's good for the public.
Yeah.
You know, and I know to an extent it's good for the wildcat dumping.
Right.
I mean, we have issues in mine and Steve's district up there around Payson, but that's a whole different issue. But my biggest question was, what did that do for the financial side versus tonnage, things like that?
Yeah, I would say when you have really low tonnage years, Mike could probably use that 50,000, but if you're hitting your target tonnage or close to your target tonnage, it's minimal impact.
So I guess, you know, just from the tonnage standpoint, man, I can't see that it would fluctuate a big amount from year to year, you know? Maybe there's circumstances like flooding that may cause that, or damage there or something, but overall, under normal circumstances, I'm just curious to.
Yeah, and you want the right amount of tonnage, right? You don't want less tonnage, you want the target tonnage, because you want that revenue to come in to cover all the expenses, so. Yeah, it's a tricky equation, and we don't, like I said, we don't control that side of the equation. So. Okay, any other questions before I get into the Townside Act?
Mr. Chairman, are you going to cover why the compaction has gone down so badly?
Well, I thought I could hit the back button. Yeah, the compaction is just, it's mainly operator issues. And, you know, I can tell you this, you know, with having Mike there, I don't think that compaction is going to be an issue moving forward. And, you know, we need to train. It's called train the trainer. We've got to make sure when Mike leaves, there's somebody in his footsteps that knows what he knows to make sure that's going on. I do want to mention that, you know, Joseph will be, if you remember when we came here with the Russell Gulch presentation, we said twice a year you're going to get a report. You're going to get a report both of the compaction rate that we're currently doing and the tonnage rate. So you're going to get that report twice a year. Those reports you weren't getting in the past, and that's something we told you when we brought Russell Gulch, you'd get that report. That's going to allow you guys to keep an eye on what is the compaction rate? Are we doing good with the compaction? If we're not, what the heck's the problem? And if we are doing good, what's the tonnage? Are we making enough for, you know, is the tonnage covering the revenue issue? So you're going to get that report. To answer your question specifically, it's really the operator. I mean, it's not having the right equipment will affect it somewhat, but it's not going to affect it as bad as we've seen the last fiscal year. That is just an operational thing, and I know that's something that Mike has been working very hard on, training both supervisors and all the staff at the landfill. You're probably gonna see those numbers drastically change. The key is gonna be, how do we make sure when Mike's not here that we don't go back to something like that, so.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know why this stopped working. I gotta go back into it.
Oh, into the PowerPoint?
Yeah. I have a good memory, but it's not that good.
Which slide do you want to move it to?
Scroll down. Just go to where you see Town Site Act as a slide. Keep going down. Yep. Keep going. Keep going. Right there. 2 down. There you go. Thank you. All right, back in line. All right, so where we're at right now with the Town Site Act, again, this is the schedule that we're under. As you heard, the way things are currently going, we have till 2030. That could probably be stretched out a little bit now that Mike's on board and get the compaction rates back under control. But assuming we're still dealing with February 2030 as being the fill date there. Right now, we're doing the NEPA process, and you can see then we get into the mitigation. Mitigation's gonna go from May of this year until May of next year, and that's where you really start getting into the expense. I'm gonna explain that in a minute. Then we get into the site permit. So the full acres, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, but the full next phase that we're purchasing, the acres, that all has to be permitted at one time. You do the cells individually, but you do the full site at one time, okay? And that can't be done until mitigation's done. ADEQ will not approve the site permit until the mitigation's done. We can start the process, but we can't finish it. That's why there's a little overlap there. Once the site permit is done, we can get into design. He can actually start design a little earlier than that while the site permit's getting approved. But the design will take us till about August. And then to take this out to bid and go into construction, we're looking at about a year process. I think the construction's actually about 7-8 months long, but we're including time in there for, for the bidding process and from finance to get the contract documents all lined up and everything. Once the bid and once the construction's done, then we can get the final permit. So you can see we're finishing around November. We're running out of air around February. Of course, Mike could do his magic. He'll have a little bit more breathing room than that, but you can see it's a pretty tight timeline, and that's why I say in March of next year we want to have that mitigation ready to go. So here's where the expenses kind of come in. We're required to mitigate it prior to even purchasing the land from the Forest Service, so it's their requirement as well as ADEQ's. Mitigation be done. The cost for mitigation right now is estimated at $1.4 million. We won't have exact numbers until the environmental assessment's done, but that's for the full 515 acres. 770 of that's for the landfill site. 630 of that is for the other county uses that I'm going to go over here in a minute. And then you have the estimated cost to purchase the land, which is just over $1 million. That's 576 for the landfill site and 424 for the other county uses. And this is what you can expect to spend over the next 18 months. We've got to pay for the mitigation starting in May, and then when that's done, we have to pay for the purchase of the land. So within the next 18 months thereabouts, we're going to be putting out $2.4 million for the Town Site Act. And then the cost for the next landfill expansion is estimated at 19.5. That's a 30-acre site. It's going to last you 50 plus years. So it seems like a lot. Put it in perspective, I think the cell 3B is 5 acres or something. What 3B is? Besides the 3B, is that 5 acres? So this is 30 acres, so you can see the cost differential, but it's going to last you for 50 plus years. The consultant's saying more than that, but I like to use conservative numbers. So this is, just real quick, not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is the cultural sites. I think you were asking about this earlier, Supervisor Klein, that, about the environmental assessment. This is what's going on. These are the cultural sites. It's not as bad as it looks. There's a lot out there, but they're not sites, they're not buildings, they're not villages, they're just small artifacts in these areas that they're finding. So it's not as heavy as it looks, but each one of these areas have to be mitigated and cleared before we can go through with the permitting and with the purchase from the Forest Service. Here's the breakdown of that 512 acres. You can see the light blue, the 89 acres, that's where we're currently operating out for the landfill. And for the material pit, the purple, which is the smallest thing there, right above the little U there, that is a roadway and utility corridor that we're gonna have to have for the landfill. And then we have the light orange there, which is the future landfill expansion, is 171 acres. That's broken into 3 phases. Phase 1 is 30 acres, phase 2 is 45 acres, and then future phases, 100 years out, is the 96 acres for long term for the landfill. And then you have 67 acres for a proposed road material pit. I've talked to Wayne with our roads department. He said that is not a suitable area for road material. He doesn't need another material pit. He doesn't want another material pit. And then the remaining 160 acres there is for future county administrative buildings. And like I said, there's not really anybody here that was privy to those conversations when this was first developed. I don't know what that's for, but I figured before we start spending serious money, we just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So that's really the question that we're gonna be asking here in the next slide. But just real quick, just to kind of break down the long-term cost framework here. Phase 1, again, this is for the landfill, would be 19.5 million to get that first phase going. I got a breakdown of that if you want to see it. It's very boring detail, but I've got it on here if you want to see it. Phase 2 is 50 plus years down the road for that second phase. It's going to last you another 60 years plus. And then you still have that future phase that's not even shown on here, but we do have to start planning for post-closure. I put that on here because as these phases are open, we have to take some of the revenue and put it towards those closure and post-closure activities. And then the non-landfill side, which is just about $1.2 million that we're gonna be spending here in the next 18 months for the non-landfill side. So the board policy question really is, we've got the landfill related that we're gonna spend over the next 18 plus months of 1.3 million. And for the other county uses, we're gonna be spending about a little over $1 million. We've already spent 144,000 towards non-landfill side. That's called the environmental assessment that's currently going on. Do we wanna spend the other $1 million for this? So this is where we really want some of that discussion to take place is, do we still want to move forward with the full 512 acres acquisition of the site? Or do we want to look at scaling that down and just making it more focused towards the landfill and the landfill expansion?
I guess it's time for questions.
Yes.
Supervisor Klein.
You know, I was sitting here thinking back to those discussions that we had back at the time we were talking about other uses besides just a landfill. One of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of those was to do away with our yard in Pine and move it over there. And there's some other ideas of moving some facilities out there as well. And I think, Steve, maybe a future jail or something like that, you know, but they were just discussions. I mean, that's where that was. When you're talking $634,000 for other uses, that starts getting into real money, and none of us can predict the future. So, the Town Site Act itself for the 515 acres, that acreage is hard to acquire. I mean, and if you have it, whether you're gonna put other uses on it or not, I think it's a good thing to have that flexibility. But one of the questions I had for you, Troy, is in the landfill enterprise fund, what kind of money do you guys have in there that's gonna help with this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Klein. While there is funding in the enterprise fund, it would be best for this to be something that you borrow money for, because $19 million for the entire project is a significant amount of money. Previous management brought you projections for revenue that were expected to perform more ideally than they have. And that's what Troy was getting at earlier with your target compaction and your target tonnage illustrates that we are not hitting those tonnage numbers in the Buckhead Mesa landfill. So you would want to borrow for that reason. You would also want to borrow because with this being a 30-year life project or longer, you would be able to spread the cost over the life of the project instead of the cost being disproportionately on current users, right? If you spread the expense over 30 years, then people in 2050 who are using the landfill after we've all retired will be there contributing to that cost. And we have verified that we cannot borrow against, for example, the existing post-closure fund, which has more than $7 million in it. That money has to stay there. Like you can't borrow against that or anything like that.
Okay, so basically we'd be looking to bond out later in the future for this, and if we went with everything that's on that list, the grand total I think was 56 point some odd $1 million to get it all done. And so, I mean, that's real money, in anybody's mind. And so, I think I think a conversation needs to be somewhere along the way is just what do we really think of other uses? I mean, we could cut back some costs on that, and but I for one don't want to see us reduce the acreage size any. I would like to see the acreage size stay there.
Yeah, and just for clarity, it is 56 million, but you've got 22 million of that that's 50 years down the road for the phase 2 expansion, 50 years plus down the road for the phase 2 expansion, and then over, like Maren was saying, over the 50 years of that landfill is you're gonna capture that post-closure cost in the annual revenue with the tonnage. So
Yeah, you'll get the 14 million out of that.
correct.
Yeah, I expected that, but the $20 million sitting right there for phase 1 is a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
Supervisor Christians.
Thank you. Yeah, so here we are on the edge of making decisions that will affect decades into the future. I, for one, feel it's an opportunity to get the land, yes. And the cost of the land doesn't seem to be that much more. So if we cut it back to just what's needed for the landfill expansion, it's only another $1 million to pick up about twice the amount of acreage. I don't know if we'll use it or not. The problem that I see is the $19 million to make it happen. So why is it so expensive? I see this line item of $15.3 million to do the landfill construction. What are we doing?
Well, it's 30 acres. It's not 6. So, it's exponentially larger than what we're doing at 3B at 5 million, essentially. It's a much larger site. Now, there is the potential in something that we could look into very quickly, but we could start working with the consultants to say, we don't need to build a cell for the next 30 years. Let's not have phase 1 and phase 2. Let's have 4 phases. Let's take 15-acre sites and bites at a time and do it that way. Now, It's gonna cost you more because you get economies of scale. But do we need that large of economy of scale for 30 acres? You know, maybe not. So that's one thing that we could do is take a look at, can we get that 15 down to a lesser number, maybe half that, do 15 acres at 7 million, make that more of an adjustable number. Now, some of those numbers you're not getting rid of. You know, all of those other numbers that are on that list are things that are required to be done, whether it's a 5-acre site or a 20-acre site. So
Yeah.
the only thing you're really saving is that, the construction. But again, you're asking the designer to design 4 cells versus 2 cells or what have you. So you're gonna spend more. That 56 million in today's dollar may be closer to 58 because you're subdividing it and taking it in sections and you're losing your economy of scales. But maybe that's the right thing to do at the time. We could certainly look into that.
Yeah, and I've asked a question before, so why should the county be in the landfill business? I mean, this is a kind of a crossroads to me, a lot of money to keep a landfill operational.
It
And
is.
so, anyway, I guess my direction would be to try and keep the land, the amount and that we have, 515 acres or whatever, but then try and figure out ways of doing the expansion without killing us doing the expansion. We're basically doing this as a favor to the public, really, what we're doing, right?
It's a good benefit to have a landfill somewhere nearby where people can dump, or you get the landfill
Sure,
dumping
but I
for
mean, it could be a private landfill.
Could be, and you know, models that I've seen in the past before is the town or the county owns the land and then they lease that out to a third party that's responsible for everything, and the county takes a shaving off of the tipping fee for
Right.
income, and you use that to fund other things in the county. I mean, that's something that can be looked into as well. It's just, if we're gonna do something, we're on a tight time frame to start looking at those other alternatives to make those happen, so,
Okay. Thanks, Troy.
welcome.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of mixed things, you know, reaching for more property. We've got property all over the place that we're doing nothing with. We have no plans for. I've been trying for 10 years to get something done with some of the properties we already own. Let's reach and get more property. Is that beneficial to the taxpayers to invest their money in property for the county? I think as far as development property and things like that, that's up to developers and realtors, not our constituents, because that investment, what are they getting out of the property that we already own? Nothing. And so, if we reach for more property, I think we should have a plan for that property to explain to our constituents what we're doing with that land that we're purchasing with their money. Is it a future investment, hoping land will be worth more so we can sell it for more to save them money in the future? But, you know, we're setting on property that we're doing nothing with. So, you know, to reach for more property, I would like to be convinced of what we're gonna do with it. 'Cause if half of that will give us 30, 40 years of landfill, what's our responsibility beyond that? That's kinda, my 2 cents, and, you know, I'm not sure if we're gonna buy property where we're at with the Russell landfill. We're doing an expansion, but where are we gonna be in 10 years with our Russell landfill? If we're gonna purchase property, is there not better places to spend it? I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just trying to look at a full picture of benefit for dollar spent. But anyway, as we go forward with this agenda, Then we look back at another agenda. What do we want to do with $5 million? We've got hundreds of $1,000,000 going out the window, and so what are we going to do with five? So yeah, but that's kind of where I'm at with it, and I like, you know, breaking the phases down some, because it seems like in the landfills that we have, we are replacing liners all the time. So if we make a huge landfill, how many liners are we gonna replace before we get to the other end of it? Either that or build a fence around all of it. So, but anyway, I guess my input, that's kind of where I'm with on how I'll vote on a decision in the future is, I'm only as good as the information I have. And if it's going in the land business, I'm not necessarily in the land business. I'm in the take care of the constituents business for today and to tomorrow. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay.
Anybody?
I'd like to ask Joe a question. Joe, if we get this land, at any point can we sell it?
I'd have to look at the specifics of the Townsite Act. I reviewed it in advance of the meeting, but I have to dig into it a little bit to be able to answer that question. But I will research that and then get you an answer within the week.
That might be helpful. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And thank you for all you've done
Yes.
for us to step in and help us manage when we were going through difficulties. It's been amazing. Thank you very,
Thank you, I
very much.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to E, information discussion regarding the status of flood recovery project associated funding resources and the 220-day completion timeline requirements for the NRCS emergency watershed protection projects. Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
you.
Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein. I won't get into too far into the details of all the finances as was covered earlier, but just as far as the project updates, the projects are actually moving along very well. Russell Gulch, for all intents and purposes, is complete and the costs are coming in under the original guaranteed maximum price that we had. So we're saving money on all of these projects. All of the projects are trending to be completed ahead of schedule within the 220-day time frame, including the hospital wall. I know there's some questions. The hospital wall got a later start with this project, but even with that later start, we're still expecting the hospital wall to be completed within the original 220-day time frame. So we're pleased with the progress that's been going on with that. The Six Shooter Canyon project is over 90% complete. It's 90.5%. The Ice House Canyon project, for all intents and purposes, is complete. There's just a few minor things that need to be addressed with the punch list. The Copper Hills Road is 80% complete project, or the Copper Hills project is 80% complete, and the hospital wall is at 82.5%. As I mentioned, all of these are trending to come in under budget. So we've seen significant savings from what we had from the guaranteed maximum prices. I sent an email to Mr. O'Driscoll with a further detail of how much we can expect to be saving. And I'm sure he can share that with you if you would like to see that. But like I said, all intents and purposes, the projects are moving along very well. 2 of the 3 are substantially complete. The last 3 will be completed probably within the next 6 weeks. That's our 220-day time frame. Happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Good job, Matt. Thank you.
Supervisor Christian.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
No, thank you very much, and I think we can look at the construction that's been done and the company that's doing it, and it's an amazing what they're doing with the amount of people and the amount of jobs that they're running. What a management company it's been. So, and I thank our staff very much for working with them to help them be as they are. So,
Thank you very much.
all very much. Okay, we're gonna move on to 2F, information discussion to provide status updates to several roadway, um, preservations and rehabilitation projects. Tom Goodman and Joseph Dickinson.
Chairman, Board of Supervisors, thank you. Before Tom comes up, I wanted to just take a minute to set the tone for where we're taking our roads and infrastructure program, because I think what we're about to hear reflects a real shift in how this department is approaching the work from the past. You notice these projects don't all get the same treatment, and that's on purpose. Sometimes the questions we get, why not just chip seal? Why not just fog seal and move on? Those are good tools, but those are tools, not default answers. The standard we're holding ourselves to is pretty simple: the right treatment, right road, the right time. That means these recommendations are going to be driven by actual condition data, distress surveys, pavement age, what the road is structurally telling us, not one size fits all playbook. Put the wrong fix on the wrong road, and you either waste money, pay more, or mask a problem that just is going to come back bigger. So what Tom's about to walk us through is that discipline in action, project by project. He and the team have put together some real work into this, and I'm looking forward to any questions along with Tom. With that, hand it over to Tom.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors. So I'll start with the bottom four, and I'll start with Gila Road. Can we pull up that damage survey map? There you go. This one? Yes. So this is kind of where we're at right now with Gila Road. You know, we did the double chip seal. It's just over 2 years old now. But this is what we're seeing out there right now on Gila Road. So we're looking at about 2 miles. And this is from the high point down to the Y intersection. And so we're seeing the red areas, we're showing shoving, which causes washboarding. And then in the yellow pin areas, we're seeing subgrade issues, subgrade failures. So again, it's about 2 miles. So I think it's time that we really look at Gila Road, and it's time we do an investment there for the folks. It's a good community, and I'd like to give them a good road. So what I would like to propose that we do is we go in and we do a full reconstruction of this 2 miles. And what I'm talking about is I'd like us to take off the top 9 inches, take that off and just get it out of there. And then we look at the subgrade. If we've got clay issues down there, let's fix the subgrade before we come back with pavement. Let's take a look at those hairpin curves. Those need to be fixed. Let's widen those out, add asphalt. Guardrail. We may need guardrail down there. Let's take a look at what areas we need to put guardrail in. Let's take a look at drainage, our culverts. They're damaged, they're plugged up. Some areas don't even have culverts where we can put them in. And then we need to take a look at the ditches on the side of the road. Drainage, we need to get that water away from the road, or whatever we put down there, it's going to cause problems in the future. So looking at all that, again, I want to do a full reconstruction. I've got a Kimley Horn. They're giving me a proposal right now to do this design work for us. And then this would be a great opportunity. I've got the support of Joseph. I have the support of Troy to do all this, and I think it's time we do this investment for this community. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor Klein, you got any questions?
You know, we invested a lot of money on that first little round we had on that too, Tom. I wish, you know, hindsight's 100%. I wish we'd have just done that to begin with.
Yes, sir.
What kind of money are you, in just a ballpark figure, are you talking about in 2 miles?
I think we're looking at least $4 million, and then depending on what we find in the subgrade, how much drainage improvements we need to make, guardrail, widening those hairpin curves, it could go from $4 up to $6-7 million. But we would have on the pavement, we come back, let's say with 3 inches of asphalt. on 6 inches of AB, it'd be a good, very good road, and it would last a long time for those folks.
Your turn.
Okay, so you're not thinking of doing chip seal? You're thinking of doing paving?
We're paving it, yes,
Yeah, which is a more permanent
absolutely.
structure. Yeah. How much would it cost to move Gila out of that canyon?
Probably more than 6 million.
We can
I've
also
driven the
look into
road
that.
several times, and I know this is in Tim's district, and I do get calls on it myself too. And so I try and keep track of what's going on with the road, and yeah, we've put some money into it. It's clearly not been a good outcome. And so how do we plan on paying for this? So we got a 4 million or more. Is that a HERF funding? Is that, what are we doing there?
Yes, sir. So Supervisor Christensen, it's going to be supported through HERF funding, and kind of looking at some of the thoughts that we're just getting right now is, in the past, it's not necessarily an investment if we're not doing what the road is needing. So now we're looking at doing truly an investment, giving the road exactly what it needs. But another important point is, we're not just doing the Gila Road, we're going to be doing this across the county. We're going to be assessing and evaluating all of our roads over the next 6 months to a year, and all roads are going to get the same standardized overview and assessment, so that we can be looking across all roads on what that fix is going to be, whether it's a fog seal, a chip seal, or in some cases in all districts, there's going to be some roads that are going to require full resurfacing like this one.
And I like that. I like that approach. So we spend $1 million on something that doesn't last more than 6 months, or we spend $4 million on something that's going to last for years.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
that kind of
so
yeah.
with this, we're looking at, Tom, I think if we do our maintenance, and this is going to be an extremely big portion of what we're going to be building out within Public Works, is the maintenance side of it. We looked at over the past couple of decades where a lot of roads were completed, but they were never done with maintenance. The intention is to step right into maintenance right after we complete this road. We're looking at 15 to 20 years, depending on how well we're able to do that maintenance and other conditions.
Thank you.
It's a real bad subject with me, gentlemen. I've
Yes,
got
sir.
internal scars that'll last me 2 lifetimes. Tom's been in a meeting with me when he swore he wouldn't go back to Gila without a sheriff. So, we made a real bad deal. And then we did a real bad deal behind it. I think I've told management, leave it alone. You open that again, I'm gonna have scars on the exterior, not only on the interior. Gentlemen, if you take a look at this road, it needs to be professionally done. Past management has screwed those people severely. They have horse trailers that they take up both lanes and are still, their rear tires are on dirt road or hanging off an edge. When that was designed and done, nobody even thought about somebody pulling a trailer. Guys, this is major to me, and if we entertain this, I want staff to go to my Gila meetings and explain to those people, and they can take some of the spears that I'm not going to catch, because I may not be at a couple of those meetings this go around off the get-go. So I'm just letting you know what a major deal it is to me. Staff, you can introduce it. You can tell them why chip sealing was done in other places and their road was shit for 4 years. Excuse my French, but guys, this is, yeah. Management, thank you very much for looking at this, but it is a major. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? Okay.
Well, I think we got more roads to talk about, don't we?
Yes.
We do.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
I'm in on that.
Oh.
I asked you gentlemen if you had anything going. Okay,
Go back to
John.
that first spreadsheet. Okay, Gibson Ranch Road, I'll talk about that one next. So we just did the double chip seal on that. 2.52 miles, and we're seeing issues with the first 1.23 miles. We're seeing washboarding. And again, we did a double chip seal on pulverized, recompacted surface with some AB, and gentlemen, it just doesn't work. Double chip seals on anything other than good pavement, we're seeing it's low cost, but we pay for it in the long run. And we just, as Joseph said, it's not the right treatment for going forward. So what Gibson Ranch, it's only the first 1.23 miles that are starting to show some washboarding. I've driven it many times. Joseph, Troy's driven it. I've had a lot of people out there looking at it. And what I suggest that we do is continue to monitor that first section for right now. It is washboarded, but I don't consider it to be severe at this point. I don't think it's a safety issue. I mean, if you want to see severe washboarding, go look at Young Road. I mean, that's severe. But so what I recommend is that we continue to monitor, especially that first section. If it gets worse, then I'm going to be coming back here recommending a full reconstruction for that 1.23 miles. That's kind of where we're at right now, and I'll be happy to answer questions.
So Tom, if it's washboarding now, it's only going to get worse, isn't it? I mean,
It's hard to say. Yes, it could, and I'm not going to say no, it won't get worse. It could get worse, or it could stabilize for a year or two, and then start getting worse. It's that AB under there. I mean, we compact that stuff to 100%, and then we chip seal over it. It just, it's going to get shoved. It's going to cause washboarding. But I can't tell you, is it going to get worse? It's probably not going to get better.
Tom, I appreciate your patience. As we're transitioning to a different way of thinking and a different culture, this is a perfect opportunity for kind of to walk through even some of those. So when we look at that road, we're going to be monitoring it. And as soon as we start seeing that degrade to a certain extent, it's going to be part of that assessment and evaluation. And whatever issues or challenges that come along, we're going to address them right away. But also part of that monitoring is there's a low water crossing that we're looking at. And that low water crossing, we're having some of the team already take a look. So what's really important is for us to share with you is we're not going to grab some of these roads and just put them to the wayside and now we're just going to forget them. We're going to keep them in the forefront and we're going to continue to monitor. We're going to continue to do the maintenance. And where there's opportunity to do improvements, such as that low water crossing, we're going to be looking real hard at those to see what we can do.
yeah, well, Tom knows, we all went out there and looked at it too. The public is not happy about that road either.
Mm-hmm.
So there again, it's a fresh project. And to me, in my mind, when you start out with a fresh project and you already having problems with it, it's not gonna get any better,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it's gonna depend on the type of winter we have, moisture and all that too, on these chip seals. So, yeah, I'm, double chip, tried it, didn't work, we don't need to try it again, I guess, it's kind of the moral of the story. But, I know from the folks out there, they would like to see something done to fix it.
Yes, sir.
There's not gonna be any kickback from them.
Yes, sir. And that's the good news about maintenance is there's going to be some of the washboard that is there. We're going to be assessing that. And do we need to saw cut it? Do we need to repair it? Again, the low water crossing, a few other things that have some drainage challenges there that we're going to be taking a look at. And that's going to be more on the maintenance side that we're going to be stirring up.
See, that's the problem too, and Tom knows this as well as you do, that, you just start nickel and diming it to death, and what do you have at the end? It's still an issue. It's
Yes,
like,
sir.
and a lot of times it's your money ahead just to dive in there and do it and be done,
Yes, sir.
so.
So sometimes sitting up here is not all that easy because we have to take the words of recommendation, double chip seal is gonna work, it's gonna be great, and let's spend $4 million and do it, and then the outcome's not what we want. So there seems to be a change in the attitude on how we address our roads. And Joseph, I'm presuming that's coming from you now as the new director. And so I think I like that. I just want to have everybody honestly give me the assessment. I'm not an expert on chip seal, double chip seal, shoving, and all of those things. I just know if it doesn't turn out right, why was it recommended that we do that? So I'd rather spend more money to get it done right and not have to deal with it again. So Gibson Ranch Road, I've been out there. I get calls on that one too. And so I said, okay, I'll take a look. You know, people that know me live out there, so they call me. And so we go out, and it's not super bad, but it's not perfect either. I mean, it's not a runway. You don't want to land the shuttle on it, but it's only going to progressively deteriorate again. And it's a reflection on the county.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes,
but
sir.
I get mixed reviews. I got some people that think it's the best repair they've ever seen.
Well, sir, we're certainly going to be taking a hard look at it and see where we can do the repairs where we need to, and if we need to, go in there and completely do an overhaul. But we're going to be able to bring you data and information. And, you know, you bring up a really good point, Supervisor Christensen, is how can we guarantee this information that we're bringing up here is going to provide the results? And the matter of the fact is, it's always a risk, even for us to be able to come up here and tell you that, hey, this is going to come out perfect. We're not coming up here to tell you we're going to make it perfect. We're going out there to do with industry standard norms. We're going to tie it to engineering. We're going to tie it to the key performance indicators, giving us the highest potential for a positive outcome. And what we're doing is we're revamping how we manage our projects. This is something I'm going to be working with the team on, is how do we monitor our projects? So right now, a lot of our projects, they're given to a contractor, and those contractors have an expectation, but how we write that contract makes a difference. Should they be owning some of that work? Should there be warranty tied to it? And then how do we address some of those issues on the back end? But here's the really important part, is how do we address those when the projects are carrying through? So being able to monitor the surface temperature, the ambient temperature, what are the pour rates, and having standard operating procedures of how we're going to address that with the contractor. Do we need to put a stop to the pour today? Do we need to move this? So we're going to be testing these projects, and whether it's Gila or any of the other projects, we're going to be hitting those projects head on, testing, evaluating, being actively on those projects so we can identify some of these issues. And that's the challenge with projects. You're going to have issues. It's just how do we handle them as a county, and how do we hold the contractor accountable? And then from the start of it, how do we select the right contractor? Lowest bid, it can be a very productive tool for procurement, but there's sometimes we need to look at different procurement vehicles that are going to give us the highest yield for the highest risk. And these are high-facing projects. They hit the public right away. So those are things that we're going to be looking at from the cradle all the way up to the finished product. So Supervisor, when we say we're looking to give you a solid product, those are the things that we're going to be taking steps into the right direction to be able to give you monitoring and the key performance indicators to say this is everything we did to be able to make it the best product that we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have nothing on that particular road, so we can go
Okay.
forward.
Tom, appreciate it.
Okay, I'll move on to Wallaman Road. That includes Saguaro Drive and Beer Tree. So that road's it needs some work on it. And what I would like to do is, before I make a recommendation of a full reconstruction or some type of chip seal, I don't even like to mention that word right now, but I would like to get a design engineer on board and have them look at it and design something for us that I can then bring to the board and say, this is what we would like to do. It could be a full reconstruction. There's some bad sections out there. There's some sections that are not quite so bad, where a double chip seal or single chip seal might be the solution. But the first step is, and I'm ready to do this, get an engineering firm on board. I've already reached out to Kimley Horn to get a proposal, and then get this designed, and then get it back to you guys for some guidance. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have one. The city-county border is that road, is it not?
It is, yes, sir.
And so the city's on the other side of the whole road, so it's not down the middle of the road?
They're on the one end towards the Globe, as you're getting into downtown Globe, they're on there, that area.
Oh, okay, but up, it's all ours.
Well, not that portion that's owned by the city. Yeah, that's not ours.
Right, but I mean up in the portions that you're
Yes.
talking about getting
That's all
engineered
ours.
for, that's all us.
Yes.
Okay, just a question, because I knew it was there close, so.
Okay.
Okay, no further questions, I don't believe, on Wallaman Road.
Okay. Kellner Crossing, I'm gonna ask Jeff to come up, and he's been working on that project and give a quick update on that.
Supervisors, Chairman. Kellner Crossing, I want to address Kellner Crossing in terms of Russell Road, okay? Russell Road, we're going to be talking about a little bit later. But the reason that Kellner Crossing is of such an issue, this is actually a small little section, but it's important because Russell Road is out of commission. It's the only way to get back to the residents that live back in that area. It's the only way to get to the where all of our antennas and everything are for all of our emergency services and all of that stuff. So the concern there is it's a low water crossing. It's functioning as a low water crossing, but it's not built as a low water crossing. It has a 36-inch pipe and an 18-inch pipe that go underneath the road, and just pavement over the top of it. And frankly, I'm concerned that it's going to get blown out. If we get a big flow, we're going to lose it, and then we have no way to get back in there. So this creates a little bit of a challenge. We can't shut the road down because we have people that live back there, and there's no other way to get back there. So pulling the whole crossing out and putting in new boxes or something to upgrade and make it a lot bigger, it's just not feasible at this time because there's no way to get around it. So what we're proposing is a low water crossing still, but make it more resilient to the flows that we're going to be looking at potentially in the future. And so it'd be a concrete over the top of the existing pipes. We can do that a lane at a time and leave it open. It also will have upgraded head walls that would train the water a little better. We've got a couple of homes that are, right up next to the wash there that we could do a little protection measure as we go. We actually looked at this crossing when we were looking at the NRCS projects and with DEMA. The problem is it was not washed out. So they don't look at it as something that they can come in and reimburse us for. So we pulled it off of that list, and we're looking at doing this ourselves and fixing it, but making it so that we still have access back there, at least until we can address Russell Road, and make it something that's gonna last if we get a big flow. With that, I got any questions?
Supervisor Klein, any questions?
Well, that's a tough one. If it's not broke, don't fix it type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And access, I understand, that is an issue. So I don't know what that question to ask you, I guess. I'm sure there's some there, but I'm not sure what it is. So thank you, Jeff.
I will also add that as far as we're looking at these other projects, this is a fairly lower cost fix, but I think it is it's probably one of the more important access points that we have.
Would it be prudent to wait until Russell Road is prepared enough to where this could be taken out?
My concern is that we get a major event and it blows out, and then we have no access back there.
Okay.
I agree with you. I was there. I've been there when it's flooded. I've been there when we walked through to look at some of the projects for the 220 day projects, and it's not in very good shape now. And so an event would take that out, which would leave the entire canals without access, not even an old dirt road. And so I think it is important that we do what we can with it, because we don't know design on Russell, we'll get into that earlier, but that's still years out, in reality, as far as I know now, because we don't even have design yet. And so I think it's an important project, because I've been there during the water, I've been there after the water. And if, like you say, if that goes, Kellner Canyon, those people have no way to get in or out, or emergency services, or, like I say, if we get storms like that, all of our towers are on top of the canals. And the only access then would be helicopters. So I think it's a small project, but I think it's an important project. That's my 2 cents worth. So if there's no further questions on Kellner Crossing, then Tom, we can reach out for another road.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to Russell Road. So Russell Road, we had the SMART grant for just over $1 million, $1,041,199. And that's administered by ADOT. The Ardura is the design firm. So right now, they have completed the first phase, and they've completed plans up to about 30%. We've got about $400,000 left to get us to final design and environmental clearance, the NEPA clearance. The problem is, ADOT contacted me and said, the 400,000 is not enough. We're gonna need an additional 500,000 of county funds to complete design, which we could get that done pretty quickly, and complete NEPA. And then we would have a full bid-ready package. So, so what I'm proposing is that we look at giving ADOT this additional $500,000, and they will then take our design, get it designed, and get a bid-ready package when NEPA will be completed, and then we will have a full bid-ready set of plans. One other thing that we just did last month is we applied for a $25 million grant to construct Russell Road, NSFLTP. That's Nationally Significant Federal Land Tribal Program Grant. And so we have not heard back on that one, but we asked for $25 million on that. But what I'm asking for today is that I would like to come back to you guys for an additional $500,000 so we can complete this design. Be happy to answer questions.
Supervisor Klein.
So Tom, without that complete design, you have troubles getting grant money.
A lot of these grants, they want completed plans with NEPA clearance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. So I think that first step is that 100% design, NEPA clearance, that completes your package and you're ready to go. And without it, I don't think you're gonna have any luck. So
You're right.
I think with Russell Road, as far as that goes, I think we're kinda need to do that.
Yes.
That's just where I'm at.
I don't see where we don't really have a choice. We have to.
Well, we do. What we could do, what ADOT has said is, we've got 400,000 left. So ADOT can take that 400,000, they can get us to say 90% plans without NEPA clearance, and we can put that on the shelf until we someday decide we'll come up with the 500,000 to complete it. That's the other option, but that's not what I recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been concerned and I've asked questions about this many, many times, and it seems to me that, and I used to have monthly meetings, and this road came up quite a bit, and it seemed to me that at one time we were about 90% design, and the estimated cost was $22 million to fix it. That's not in the conversation today. So then, okay, we received the first grant for design, and then we were obligated to put in for the grant to rebuild it. So I'm getting information here and then information here, which makes me wonder about information in the middle. If they gave us money and says, you've got to get to a certain point and then you got to put in for the other grant, and they didn't give us enough money, why don't we ask them for more money? Because their money didn't get us to where they want us to go. That's just, I don't expect you to answer that question today, but where I'm at, it's like, okay, here's $1 million for design, and it's like, knock on the door, it's like, guys, $1 million didn't get us there. We're gonna need another 5 to get where you want us to go, and we're obligated to go, and we've already spent a bunch of your money, but we're not where we need to go. So, yeah, we gotta get design, but I mean, I don't know if we're still, once that happens, that's why I was skeptical on the Kellner, because gosh, who knows when we're gonna get this done. If we throw another 500,000 at it, because they didn't give us enough money to get where they wanted us to go, and then we're looking at putting in for a grant for $22 million, it's like, wow, you know, we're having a hard time getting money to restore the storm damage that we've had now. So how can we go to the same government and say, oh yeah, we need 22 million to open a road? You know, it's golly, it's difficult, but it's a very important road for the community down here, because for access, 6-shooter's in better shape now, but before, if 6-shooter got washed out, Russell was our only way to get over and around through Kellner. But now 6-shooter's a little better, so you know, we don't have the threat when we put in for a grant that, well, if 6-shooter washes out, it's like, well, you guys just put all this money in 6-shooter, so you know, Russell's not that important because 6-shooter's fixed now. So yeah, that's a can of worms there. And so anyway, I guess I don't know where that money would come from that they're asking for to finish design, but those are questions that I have because of information that I'm not sure of. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
Tom,
Yes, sir.
is there any other grant money out there that would help us with that 500,000 that we could apply for to help get us there? Or
We could apply for another SMART grant. There might be some other grants we could apply for the 500,000. It's you know, it's going to take time, of course, and but yeah, that is an option. We can definitely look at that. If I think the 500,000 would probably come out of HERF funds or transportation excise funds. That's probably where we would get it. But if we decide, hey, maybe, you know, let's temporarily put this project on hold, go look for that $500,000 through a grant opportunity, and hopefully that would come through, and then we could finish design it. Then we wouldn't have to.
so right now, what I hear though, you've already applied for that $22 million grant.
Yes.
So you're kind of behind the power curve on this one, because you're gonna have to have that 100% design. I'll bet you $1 on that.
Oh yeah. So I'm hopeful. You know, we just applied for it last month in July.
Okay.
I don't know when we'll hear the results of that grant. I'm hopeful. I went on their website and looked at some of the other awards they've made over the last several years, and I think we're in line with what the program is all about. And so my fingers are crossed, and I'm hopeful that, yeah, it may come through for us.
Gentlemen, hold on just a second. Michael, did you have input?
Chairman, members of the board, as far as the 500,000 goes, we would be looking at HERF. However, if HERF cannot cover it, or we decide not to cover with HERF, we do have the capacity in talking to Marin in our capital projects to cover that.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect timing.
Okay,
And I'd like to add one thing when we talked about, you mentioned earlier, and you were correct in everything you said, just a little clarification. So ADOT broke Russell Road up into 2 phases. The first phase, that took us, when I mentioned 90%, that's when they were looking at, okay, we're gonna abandon the road and we're gonna go up over the mountain and tie in somewhere else, or we're gonna shift more into the mountain, or we're gonna rebuild it exactly where it's at now. That's where we got to that, when I had mentioned 90% a long time ago. And so we got through that, and they recommend we rebuild the road basically where it sits right now, is what they recommended. And that was the first phase, and now we're into this final phase to get final design, so
Okay,
that's where
thank
we're
you.
at.
Thank you. Any more questions on Russell? Okay, then, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, last one. So, Johnson Boulevard in Tonto Village, and I think on the agenda today it said Tonto Basin, but it's Tonto Village. So, again, this is an ADOT administered project, OSB grant, off-system bridge grant. And this was fully funded by ADOT, $770,000. We don't have a penny in that. And that was for design and construction. So we are done with design. ADOT is ready to advertise this project for construction. Again, we've had no money invested up till now. ADOT came to me about a few weeks ago and said, we're a little bit short. We need to put an inspector out there. ADOT wants to put an inspector, that's just the way it works, and we need that. They said we can do a part-time inspector, which is gonna cost $64,000 plus change, or we can put a full-time inspector out there. It's gonna cost $128,000 and some change. I recommend we put a full-time inspector on the project. He'd be there all the time watching the contractor. We're gonna get better quality. Issues will be resolved quicker with a full-time inspector. There's just a lot of benefits. And so my recommendation is that we go with a full-time inspector. So I'll come back to you with that proposal if you guys decide that's the way to go. And then we get that to ADOT and they'll advertise the project for construction. Be happy to answer questions.
What's the lifespan of this project, Tom? How long is it gonna take to build it?
It's a single span bridge, you know, it's 6 months at the most, yeah.
So I can't imagine us not having an inspector on the job while it's being built. I think, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah,
So that answers your question from my standpoint.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, so I'm familiar with Johnson Boulevard, so is this, I'm trying to envision the giant chasm that we're gonna be building a bridge over. It doesn't seem like there's much of anything out there on Johnson Boulevard. Is it at the very beginning as you enter Tonto Village, or is it at the other end?
It's kind of in the middle,
Okay,
yeah.
and there's like a culvert there now.
No, there's a bridge there now.
There is, okay.
Yeah, and it goes over a dry creek. I don't know the name of the creek. I'm not even sure it has a name, but it does go over a creek that does flow at times.
Yeah, flood, kind of a, rain.
Yeah, and there's homes on each side, so it's right there in the community.
Right, okay. All right, thanks.
I had no question.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I have another question for Tom. We have a list of all this, but I know the 512 road is just about complete for design and the assessment and everything on that. Do you have an update for us on that?
I do have an update on Young Road. So we met with ADOT yesterday and the Forest Service and got an update. So we just completed 60% plans. And we are quickly moving towards 90% plans and 100% plans. We'll have 90% plans in November, and ADOT will be ready to advertise this project in January, and we could go to construction in February. The problem is, so we're looking at 13.5 miles that we want to pave. It's going to be $25 million. That's currently what we're estimating it at 60%, $25 million. ADOT will not advertise the project unless Gila County writes a check for $25 million and sends it to them.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't do that, if we don't come up with the 25 million, they're gonna stop at stage 4, which is 90% plans. They will not complete the NEPA, and the project will just kind of sit there. And we're there. This is gonna happen in November. So we are gonna apply for grants. I'm working with Amy and her staff. We're already looking at grant opportunities to apply, again, $25 million. We wanna get this thing built. Now, this project is scalable. And when I say that, I mean we could build 2 miles of it. You know, we could take the worst 2 miles. And if we had $2 million, we could say, we're gonna pave a mile of this. The problem is that it's being designed as a complete package. So I would have to go back to the engineering firm and say, this is what we've got 2 million, break out this 1 mile section, design that as a standalone project, and then I would have to get with ADOT and say, I know you guys cleared the whole project, NEPA, I want you to take a look and only clear this 1 or 2 mile section. And we talked about that yesterday with ADOT, and they said, that could be a problem. To me, it makes absolutely no sense. If you clear the whole project, why can't you just take out a 1 mile chunk and clear that? It's already cleared. I'm not sure ADOT knew what they were saying yesterday, but it really makes no sense to any of us. So that's something we would have to work with ADOT on. But that's kind of where we're at is, I know $25 million is a lot of money, but if we could come up with that, we could have Young Road under construction in February.
So,
Excuse me, no, and nothing against it, but Joe, that's not on the agenda, but it is a work session, so are we okay?
Yes.
Okay, good enough, I was just,
I mean, the
no, I
general subject
I just wanted to be sure we were safe, because we could get up into another 3 or 4 different roads here before this is over, and I just wanted to be sure that we're good, because that wasn't on, and so if we're good, continue.
thank you, Joe. So one of the things is, after the Tunnel Creek Bridge, 512 was the top of the priority.
Yes.
And so Robin Heistand was here a week ago. I think she met with a lot of your departments and looked at projects. And so I don't know if you guys are talking to her, but Federal Highways may have something out there for grant monies. You know, that's where she comes to play right there.
Yes. So I know Robin, and I knew the lady before Robin, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in contact with them. Any opportunities, we're gonna look at it. And again, if they can get us 2 or 3 million, at least we could build a mile section of it. I'd love to get the entire $25 million and get this thing under construction in, say, February.
And then give it to ADOT.
If it's FHWA money, ADOT will administer it, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I think we definitely got to reach out to Washington. We've got to have some money come in for this. And we have a couple of senators, or at least one, that is interested in the development of the Young area for several purposes. So if we don't do the whole project, we're going to be spending more money over time.
Yeah, because they would charge us to break out a section.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on this item? Okay, I would like to thank staff very much for this work session on these projects. I think a lot of things are different, because of staff and the team effort, because these projects brought up to us to get our input of where and how and why, and kind of an explanation, in past management that didn't seem to happen often. It was more of a dictatorship. So I just want to thank you guys very much for your time, energy, and effort today in bringing these projects forward with us for discussion. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so I will move on now to call to the public. Do we have any public up in Payson? We haven't seen them for a while. IT, can we look at Payson? We're still on a Public Works Engineering project to see if we have anybody with call to the public. No, we do not, but thanks for bringing that light to us. And so, okay, do we have any call to the public here? Okay, how many do we have with you today on IT?
96 views total, 18 current.
19 total, 18 current, so
96.
96. Oh, okay, good, no comments.
None, sir.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that people are participating and being more interested in what we're doing for them. Summary of current events. Mr. O'Driscoll.
Chairman and members of the board, thank you. I just have a couple updates. I'd like to introduce, in our audience, we have Van Ornelas, my mistake. He's our communication specialist that just came on board. So he's going to be in charge of meeting one-on-one with all of you to find out what kind of communications you would like to see in Gila County. He's also going to be meeting with the towns and the cities to improve that communication and work on our marketing social media programs as well. So he's a fifth-generation Arizonian from Yuma, I believe, and he has excellent experience in this position. So welcome, Van. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome aboard.
We
met you earlier. Yes, thank you.
In community development, at a previous work session, Randy brought forth the comprehensive plan to the board, going out for bid and those kinds of things. And Supervisor Klein recommended we take a look at doing it in-house. And we received the bids, and we're going to be taking up Supervisor Klein on his idea. And the bids were a little bit more than we want to spend. So we've met with our teams, and we're going to be doing that in-house. And when we get a meeting together to bring back to the board during a work session the strategies and how we're going to do that, we'll do that in the next 4 to 6 weeks. With elections coming up in November, talked to Alfonso. We met with the recorder, emergency management Alfonso, about a month ago. We talked strategies for trying to recruit new volunteers. And as of today, Alfonso and his team have recruited 40 new poll workers. We were short in poll workers in almost every election. So with the recorder's assistance on getting us a list of potential people in Gila County who want to volunteer and some other strategies, they're doing an excellent job this year. So we're still needing about 10 volunteers, and we hopefully will have those lined up in the next week or two. So that's really good news there. And the last update would, Tiffany just notified me this morning that there's going to be a change in the public fiduciary. The Arizona Supreme Court is revising their requirements for fiduciary offices to include all clients' visits to be made by a licensed fiduciary only. So there's only 2 licensed fiduciaries in her office. That would be Tiffany and her deputy. So that's going to be a big change for her department, and that goes into effect November 15th of this year. So that's going to be a big change for her, but we're going to be able to support Tiffany, and she already has a plan in place with her other employees to meet those requirements from the Supreme Court. So she already has her department ready for this. So however support she needs, county management will help her with that. And that's all my updates.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Klein.
I don't have a lot. Last Saturday, I helped with the community center up there on an auction fundraiser. Went real well. Had a good time with that. And then we had received a card from all of our youth workers out of Hayden and Winkleman thanking us for the youth program that we've had here for quite a while. So I think that was really cool, and they're real appreciative of that program, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. So not much to report either, but yesterday was my regular KMOG time slot, third Monday of each month. It went very well. I invited Michael to join me, and he did. And so we had a good discussion, covered a lot of issues, got a lot of different phone calls. So it was another good session that went really well. Thank you for coming.
Okay. Supervisor Klein, you said fundraiser. What was the fundraiser for?
For the community center, the nonprofit.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
There's an auction.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I was on KQSS on the 17th. I met with Robin from BOS Public Affairs on the 19th, and we toured a lot of the work being done from the damage that was created by the flow. Her and I had quite a few conversations on things that she can help us with. I'll attend the LEPC Local Emergency Planning Committee. That's pretty much all day on Thursday. And then that meeting will be at the fairgrounds. And so, anyway, that's about all I have. So, if that's all we have, I will go on to number 5, quest for future agenda items. Supervisor Klein, do you have anything that you would like to see on a future agenda?
Not at this time.
Supervisor Christensen, anything you'd like to see?
Same thing, not at this time.
And I'm good as well for now. But it sounds after our conversation with our deal today, we're gonna have some more things coming up on our agenda, it seems, and so that'll create some meetings, I'm sure. Okay, executive session, information, discussion, action to enter into executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A3 and 7 for discussion or consultation for legal advice with the board's attorney, and discuss or collaborate or consultation with the supervisors to consider the county's position regarding the county-owned property located adjacent to the Gila County College in Payson. And Josh will be presenting there.
Are you asking for a motion?
I am asking for a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. We'll take a little short break and I'll see you in executive session.
Okay.
Hey, we're back from executive session, so reconvene as a Board of Supervisors, and I will call for a motion.
I'll make the motion, just to have staff proceed as discussed.
I'll second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye, passes unanimous. And so then I will close today's meeting. Thank you all. Have a good day.
What my hesitancy to